Thank you, sir. So we have been making some efforts, representatives, lately to help people when they're re-entering society after being incarcerated. And one of those things is to help them get a job. A lot of challenges related to that, a lot of instances where you've got a felony on your record or something, and at that point, it just seems like you just can't get a job anywhere because you can't get a license. And so what this bill is working to do is a couple of things. I've met several people that have gone, for instance, through substance abuse treatment. They get done, they get on the other side, they go to college, they get a degree, they decide they want to get into counseling and do therapy and whatnot and help other people also go through the same, only to find out after they've gone to college, gotten the degree and all that, that they cannot qualify for a license because they have a criminal offense in their background. So this bill does a couple of cool things. Number one is you can now go to DOPL with this bill. You would be able to go to DOPL and say, will you please take a look at my criminal background and let me know if I were to go and do this type of studying, could I get this license? They can come back now and say, maybe. They can say yes if they believe you'll qualify. They can say maybe if you also were to A, B, and C, or they can just flat out tell you, I'm sorry, but because of the nature of the offense and the license you want, it's not possible. The other thing that it does is it's allowing, DOPL has a process that they're doing right now where they're reviewing each of the different categories of licenses and going through and working on a process that says, after so many years, this type of a crime, it's just fine. This type of a crime, for the first 5 years, no. After 5 years, yes. Or for the first 5 years, and the nice thing, you guys, that DOPL's doing is there is no hard no in the vast majority of cases. They're already working on this. They're already reviewing their processes. They have an appeals process that they put in place. The substitute that you just helped me adopt into this allows them to continue to use the process they're currently in to continue to go through each of the criteria, only they're now used instead of a reasonable association of the crime to the job, it now has to be a substantial association of the crime to the job. And that was actually their recommendation. They felt that they could and probably should, based on other national standards that are coming out and other national association meetings and stuff, take it to that higher level and say, if it is substantially related, then it probably ought to go through a review process. And I got to tell you, I'm extremely impressed with the work that they've done. I was really taken back, and I need to publicly thank Mark Steinagel for taking the time to come and meet with me. But this bill in this form, with the efforts that they're doing, is going to have an excellent impact, and I'm actually really excited with how it ended up turning out. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I'd be open to any questions.
Thank you, Representative Hutchings. Discussion to the bill. Representative Hollins.
Thank you. I rise in support of this bill. A couple of years ago, I ran a bill called Ban the Box, which will allow those who are formerly incarcerated to get back into the workforce. And I work with a lot of individuals who, after being rehabilitated and formerly incarcerated, want to go back into the workforce and do the type of work that's going to give back to the community. And a lot of times that requires a license. And so they shy away from those careers. And so I want to compliment the sponsor of this bill. I think this is a really good bill. And I think it's going to have a really big impact.
Thank you, Representative. Further discussion to the bill. Representative Ballard.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the sponsor yield to a question?
Will the sponsor yield?
Certainly.
Let's proceed.
Thank you. Wondering, is this something that an inmate could apply for, or is this something that is required after getting out?
Wow, that's a great question. As drafted, there is no requirement that an individual, it doesn't really state. So I hadn't even thought of that, but it's cool that you would actually mention it on the record, that this bill should qualify for anyone because it literally just says the individual. And it doesn't state whether that is an incarcerated individual or an individual on parole or probation. And so I believe as drafted, I'll need to verify that, but that's an excellent point, that we may be able to actually go through this process while putting together a reentry case plan for an individual who hasn't yet been released but is maybe soon to be released.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would hope that that would be a tremendous gift for those who are preparing to exit their incarceration or where they are, that this would be a great tool for those who are helping that process to actually facilitate jobs for them before they are released. Thank you.
I think we're good.
Thank you, Representative. Further discussion of the bill? Representative Hutchings, seeing none, back to you for summation.
I'd like to waive summation, sir. Thank you.
Summation's been waived. Voting will now be open on second substitute, House Bill 90. Representative Notwell. Representative Hawks. Seeing all those present having voted, voting will now be closed. Second substitute, House Bill 90 passes this body with 70 yes votes and 0 no votes and will be transmitted to the Senate for further consideration.